Hi folks, hope you're doing well. This video will be called Nothing to Do with God. Well, now I talked about the fact of the way the church is set up. I've talked about the fact of the way the church does things and how churches look, as in the way their seating is set up, the way the worship is set up, the way the fact that most churches will have tea and coffee after the service. They will have 3 or 4 songs. They'll have a little bit of announcements, and then the ministry lasts about 40 minutes. Typically, that is a church service that most people will face. Okay, so yeah, nothing to do with God. Right. I was watching a episode of QI. Someone had put it up, so I thought, cool, what's that? I used to like QI. On this, at one point they talked about the fact of tomatoes, and in places in America in the past, they believed that tomatoes were poisonous and would kill you. And it wasn't until one American actually ate 20 of them that they realised that you could eat them. But that was all because somebody said. Somebody said, somebody believed, and it just spread. And then everyone believed that tomatoes were poisonous. Yeah. In the same episode, you hear of things like people wearing wigs. And the fact that people wore wigs because I think Louis III was bald and he wore a wig. So then any rich person believed, well, it's fashion. He's wearing a wig, so I should wear a wig. And then for hundreds of years, men in powerful positions wore wigs. Just because of one bald man. And, yeah, it spread. There was no particular reason for anyone else to wear a wig. But they did because it was fashion, because it was the way that we do things. Yeah. If we are well-to-do and we have money or we have power, then we have to wear a wig to show that. There was no reason for that, apart from one person was bald and wanted to cover his bald head. As a king, it was a bit sort of, oops, if he didn't have any hair. So therefore, wearing a wig made sense for him. For everyone else, it made no sense at all. It was a massive, discomfort. Because you had to chalk your wig and that chalk went everywhere. So you had to wear other things, other garments over your garments in order to make sure they weren't covered in chalk. It was so incredibly impractical. So I will link the episode. It's a good episode. Yeah. So I link that with it because I got the information from there, so I link that. But as I've said before, there's all these things that nothing to do with God. But the church has taken them on a whole, and again, it's because somebody did it, then somebody else did it, and somebody else did it, and somebody else did it, and then maybe the whole of the Baptist church took it up, and then of course that meant the evangelical church didn't want to be left out, so they took it up, and then everyone else took it up, and they didn't bother to actually go and ask God, is this what you want? Well, because generally speaking, I've seen the mess that happens when a Baptist church has a vote, or when any church has a vote on something. It's messy. Yeah. Well, it shows very much that, as I say, I've been in Baptist churches where they've had votes where you've had 40% vote in one way, 60% in another. But that shows you that at least 40%, if not 60%, aren't hearing from God. That's a big problem. It should be. That should be highlighting a huge problem in a church. It doesn't because they take no notice of it. Yeah, but it should. So yeah, none of this has got anything to do with God, and it's just a case. Look at things like all the things like the witch trials and stuff like that. It all became, something that got up and up and up and up and up because of word of mouth. There was never any proof whatsoever that any of these young women that were put on trial for witchcraft were witches. There was no proof of that at all, because there was no way of actually giving proof. Because they never flew on broomsticks. They didn't, curse people in the ways that the imagination says they did. But anyone whose, cake went flat when it's being cooked, if they could blame someone else rather than their incompetent cooking, they would. Yeah? Anyone who had a number of miscarriages, they would try and find a reason for that. Now, that neighbour who doesn't like you, accuse that person of witchcraft, that's covered. There you go. Yeah. But it spreads. And then the fear of that goes up and up and up, and it spreads. And suddenly, lots of women are being murdered. Because they live differently. Because they might be a bit woodsy. And, yeah. And of course, the people doing that were saying that they were doing God's work. Really? Yeah. None of this is anything to do with God, but all of this are things that have spread and spread and spread and spread and spread. I mean, I would challenge people to look at the church they're in, and try and see anything that is actually of God, where the evidence says that that thing is actually of God. Because I seriously think an incredibly difficult thing to do. So go for it. Yeah. One thing I'd add from the ones I did yesterday, points I was going to make, didn't. To certain people, I know I have given warnings to. I have issued warnings to them. And, well, as I said, they saw those warnings as, just me trying to attack them and their church. Isn't true. No. Well, generally speaking, if I had a chance to talk to these people and actually talk to them, I would. And that's why I said yesterday, when I made the point about that I would be happy to go in front of the church and for them to tell me how I'm wrong about what I've said about the church, is because that would give me an opportunity to say what God wants me to say. And to say something to break them out of that, what they're in. I would have loved for Mrs. B to be telling me how out of order I was for thinking that she should be my wife, because then I could bring it back to her and say, but you think, what I did, I was being honest. I was being truth. I was being honest. I wasn't lying. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I wasn't trying to do anything that caused you any problems in any way, shape or form. But you then blocking me. That is of this world. You think that's appropriate? Yeah. It would be an opportunity, so I'd happily take that barrage of abuse. If it meant, of course. Anyway, there you go. So there are so many things that happen in our lives and in the world that take off in a massive way that have got nothing to do with God. And I think the evidence is out to say that what's going on in the church and the way the church is and the way they train their people and the way they set churches up has got nothing to do with God. Even though, yes, the people will say, but if every church is doing it, if every church is doing it this way, it must be God. No, but if every rich and powerful person for decades and decades and decades, it could have been hundreds of years, were wearing wigs, then there must have been a good reason for that. No, it's just fashion. Okay. Yeah. That's the point. It's as simple, well, it could be as simple as it being fashion. That the church decide to do things the same way as all the rest. Well, as I said before, part of the reason is if you've got a load of churches doing it, then you changing to do things that way, you're covered because all these other churches are doing it. So if something goes badly wrong, you can say, oh, but you're just doing things the way they were. So you're covered. You can't be blamed for being risky. The first couple could be. But after that, no, you'll be encouraged to do so. This is a new way. This is a new thing. And of course, when people are talking about that church, oh, but it's so nice, it's comfortable. We're saying things that are encouraging, and it's a nice place to be. We're not just doing hymns now; we're doing other songs as well now, and of course, it's fashion. We're setting our churches up different. We haven't got the old pews; we've got normal seats now. Much more comfortable. Of course, what are people going to do? But what is that about? It's fashion. Even training your leader. If you can have a leader who's already trained, has a good Bible understanding and trained to be a teacher, trained how to teach, of course you'd take that, wouldn't you? Well, take someone who's not proven. But again, that's fashion. That's a change to the church. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's as simple as that. It's the same as all those rich people wearing wigs. Yeah. Nothing to do with God. So there you go. You take care. God bless. I'll speak to you soon. Have a fantastic rest of the week. Be blessed and be a blessing. And have a look at your churches. Have a look. Try and see what's of God. You take care. Bye bye.